Next, we'll look at the thematic apperception test, short for TAT, and is popularly known as the picture interpretation technique, and uses a standard series of 30 provocative yet ambiguous pictures about which the subject must tell a story. Scoring involves subsequently analyzing all story content and evaluating it for various themes. The TAT test was developed by American psychologist Henry A. Murray and Christina D. Morgan at Harvard University during the 1930s, about 100 years ago, to explore the underlying dynamics of personality, such as internal conflicts, dominant drives, interests, and motives. After World War II, the TAT was adopted more broadly by psychoanalysts and clinicians to evaluate emotionally disturbed patients or children. Later, in the 1970s, the human potential movement encouraged psychologists to use the TAT to help their clients to understand themselves better and stimulate their personal growth. As adults and adolescents of average intelligence, a subject is asked to tell as dramatic a story as they can for each picture that is presented to him, including what has led to the event shown, what is happening at this moment, what the characters are feeling and thinking, and what the outcome of the story is. So basically, you look at a picture, you tell a story. So it's called a story interpretation technique. So there are altogether 30 cards. They're meant to be divided into series of 15 pictures each, with the picture of the second series being purposely more unusual, dramatic, and bizarre than that of the first. And the suggested administration involves 1 full hour being devoted to a series, with the 2 sessions being separate a day or more. That means you do this for day 1 and do another set in day 2. And several cards in the test are present in order to ensure that the subject is able to be provided with cards picturing individuals of the same gender. Now, having said all of this, you may wonder, what is this TAT after all? And here is why. The question is, what is he thinking? Can you tell a story about her? Do you think she looks happy or unhappy? What is she going to do? What does she remind you of? And when you think about all these questions, you come up with a story. You can put down your story in 100 words, with 300 words, with 500 words. And this will show a lot of your own hidden desires, personality traits, as you project your own fantasies, your own expectations, your own characteristic or behavioral tendencies on describing this person. Can you please write down something about her? At least, can you imagine what she's thinking now? Or tell a story accordingly? And you want to think about how this could be used as a psychological test of her personality. Now, here is one version. This is a woman full of expectations. She has just graduated from college, and she cannot find an ideal job. And she was worried that her family has spent a lot of money for her education, but had no chance to repay them back. And she wants to find an ideal job as soon as possible and help her family as much as possible. Therefore, she is a very filial child or filial person. Now, having seen this description, what do you think this tells about the writers or the person who writes this, her personality? It shows that she's potentially a very conscientious, hardworking, altruistic, filial child. And she's also anxious at the moment of not being able to find a job. Now you can see projective test, TAT, really works. Because the more you write about this person, more you're projecting your own hidden, unconscious desires, expectations, anxiety onto describing this person. And with that, we can find your unfulfilled wishes, your unfinished business, and your personality traits as reflected. So, we continue to explore. The TAT has 11 cards. It has been found suitable for both man and woman by portraying no human figures, an individual of each gender, or individual of ambiguous gender. Each story created by a subject is carefully analyzed to uncover the underlying needs, attitudes, and patterns of reaction. Look at this one. What do you think this young man is doing, is thinking? Tell a story about this scene. This is scene 1. To correspond with this, there was another picture, very similar to this. This time is the lady standing, the man is lying. You just make sure the gender are equally presented in the set of cards. And you can say, what is woman worrying about, as much as in the previous picture, what it is man worrying about. And the more you write about it, the more I know about your hidden, unconscious needs, desires, attitudes, behavioral reactions, and the personality traits. Though various methods of scoring systems has been adopted to improve its reliability, the validity of TAT remains largely questionable. And so it is only widely used by clinicians. Statistically, is being sentenced to death, is being claimed to be unreliable. It does not have a solid reliability score, because when you look at this picture, what does it measure? Your anxiety, your expectation, your hope, your ambition? We don't know, because it's so multidimensional. But when clinicians ask the patient to tell stories from watching these cards, the clinicians quickly find something that is useful for the clinical purposes. So TAT remains widely used as a tool for researchers around areas like psychology, about dreams, fantasies, mate selection, and what motivates people to choose their occupation. And it's also used in psychiatric contexts to assess disorders thinking, the forensic examinations to evaluate crime suspects, or to screen candidates for high-stress occupations. I'm pretty sure by now you get a big ball of what I taught. Next, I want to entertain you with a true use of TAT in a clinical context. Let's look at this videotape.
I'd like to try very quickly. I'd like to show you some pictures, and I want you to give me your immediate response to them. Okay, just look at the picture, and without even thinking, just tell me what it means to you.
Pictures.
It's kind of like a word association game. Just look at the picture and tell me whatever comes to your mind. Okay?
Who's that?
No, these aren't actual people, Steve. Now, what does this look like to you?
This guy's faking it. You can tell because the doctors don't look concerned at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just pretending to be in a coma. Because he knows that if he comes out of the coma and opens his eyes, he's going to see his bill. So obviously he's feeling better, but he just stays in a coma so he doesn't have to pay his bill.
What a great idea.
Mr. Piccolo, if you keep speaking, I'm really going to have to ask you to step outside.
Sure. Just, medical costs being what they are.
The next picture, Steve.
These guys are in trouble.
They look like they're in trouble to you.
Well, not yet, but just wait a second. When that driver gets really angry, and he's going to, and they're all going to start screaming and crying, and it's going to be a mess. Don't even... It's...
This one.
She sneezed.
Anything else?
She sneezed by the door.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's Batman.
Batman?
Batman, sometimes he goes without his cape.
And this is the last one.
Fishing.
Fishing. Two guys fishing.
Very good. Anything else?
Sure.
Two guys fishing for trout.
And again, think about these questions. First, how many pictures are shown to the young man? Second, what descriptions does the young man give to each picture? And thirdly, what do you learn about the personality traits of the young man from his descriptions? Let's look at the results, okay? Here you can see there are 5 pictures presented. The first, patient in the ICQ room. The second, passenger in a bus. The third is sneezing lady. The fourth is suicidal man. And the fifth is an old man and a child fishing together. Now look at the young man's response to the first picture, the patient in the ICQ room. The patient is faking a coma to avoid seeing his bills and resolving his financial problems. What does it reflect his personality? Well, he's probably childish, egocentric, unconscientious, and irresponsible. Look at the second one, passenger in a bus. The young man's responses are the passengers will be in trouble as the driver will get angry and something awful is going to happen. All people will cry and scream. It's a happy moment, but he interpreted as an unhappy one. So he showed the young man is probably very childish, pessimistic, dislike happy moments. Third, the sneezing lady. The young man's response is the lady sneezed by the door. Nothing else. Well, this probably showed young man is pretty simple-minded, childish, unempathic. And at first, the suicidal man. The young man response is the Batman. Sometimes does not wear his dress. Okay, the special coat. Well, you can see the child responses. And the personality traits that are reflected here again, childish, careless, unempathic. And finally, the old man and child fishing. Young man response is the 2 men fishing, nothing. You can see young man response is lack of desire for interpersonal harmony. You can see young man is not looking for some interpersonal intimacy. It's pretty aloof, distant. And this is how TAT is used clinically to identify or detect personality traits of people whereby under normal circumstances, you may not get all these traits. So that's the TAT.